Our gospel today, dear friends, puts us into continuity with yesterday's readings, but also with Sunday's gospel. Sunday's gospel was our Lord's reminder to us that there will be division if we choose Him. Not because it's intended or anything, but that's just what happens when we make a choice. When, for example, you choose a particular footy club over the other, then that divides you, from other supporters. You're a Collingwood supporter, we're all over here, that kind of thing. Or, for example, when we make life choices, when some of you discerned that the person you are in love with is someone worth spending a whole lifetime for, and that it is God's will that you spend your lifetime with this loved one, then that divides you from all the other single people on earth. Because now you have made a commitment, and then of course you go through your engagement, you get married, and now you're living your married life. That decision divides you from the rest of single humanity. They are no longer an option. Now you are over here. Well, also our Lord reminds us that sometimes even our choices in faith would make us, divide ourselves or leave our families. Some physically leave their families because they become missionaries in another land. Some become missionaries with their families. For example, in the neo-catechumenal way community around the movement around the world, there are some who, as an entire family, offer their time and their lives as missionaries for different parcels of time, whether that's a short time or a whole lifetime, to go and live in another place, to assist the mission, to proclaim the gospel of the Lord as a family together. So that's also a possibility. Yesterday, our Lord was approached by a young man who had kept all the commandments, but was lacking one thing, which is, of course, the giving up of his possessions, and he went away sad. So our Lord doesn't back down, really. He knows that this is something that's really important. It's not about the riches themselves. It's about what possesses us. Our Lord, of course, when we were being created as humanity, if you look at it in the first two chapters of Genesis, we are placed on top of creation, top of the world, in order for us to look after the whole of creation, and also so that we may rule over it. The problem, of course, as you know, when it comes to possessions, sometimes, whether that's people or relationships, or physical riches, or positions, or titles, etc., the problem sometimes is that these other good things can end up enslaving us, can end up possessing us, which of course is a turning around of the order that God has placed. And of course from that comes a lot of usually not so nice things. From that comes, a feeling that we are self-sufficient rather than reliant on God, that we can do everything, that nothing is impossible for us anymore. Or maybe we even begin to step on other people. We begin to, in our greed, in our motivation to get more, we become less ourselves and turn towards stripping other people of their rights, their dignity, of the simple things that they should have. And that's why our Lord, of course, warns us against being possessed by our possessions. But He also tells us that, hey, when you do give yourself over, you're not going to go away from the Lord empty-handed. The Lord, first of all, gives Himself. The Lord who is so patient with us, just as He is patient with Gideon in that first reading. There's a bit of a back and forth between the angel and between Gideon. God is with you. Is He really with us? Can I ask for a sign? Okay. And the angel, actually, if you look at it, the angel patiently waits for Gideon to come back. Because it doesn't take 5 minutes to prepare a young goat and unleavened cakes and meat and broth in a pot and have to bring it back to the angelic guest. It takes a bit of time. And yet, the angel of the Lord, a manifestation of the Lord's presence, remains there patiently, waiting, and then receives the sacrifice. Dear friends, it is not impossible for us to be saved. Our Lord has already begun that process for us. In fact, if you look at it, He has done the best and the worst part of offering His life, of going through suffering for our sake, of going through death and resurrection. He has taken up the heavy part. What our Lord asks of us now is our own contribution to the bettering of the world, to the salvation of our own souls, to partaking in His incredible work of bringing the world and each human person closer and closer to the heavenly kingdom. When we participate with Him, dear friends, fear not, because we will not be left unpaid. In fact, for the very little time and for the very little resource and for the very little gifts we give our Lord, He is willing to give us the whole of Himself and the whole of blessed eternity. He is pretty good at giving rewards.